Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Zhuang, and here are your news headlines at 3. The UAE says that Iran has fired 15 missiles and 4 drones. U.S. fights to reopen the Strait of Hormuz as the UAE comes under attack in a test of Iran truce. The U.S. military says it's fired on Iranian forces and sank 6 small boats as it moved to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The UAE, a key American ally, said it has come under attack from Iran on Monday. It was the first such attack on the UAE since a fragile ceasefire took hold in early April. The attacks appeared to be in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's latest efforts to reopen the strait, a critical waterway for global energy. The U.S. military said 2 American-flagged merchant ships had successfully transited into the strait on Monday. British Columbia Premier David Eby says he doesn't understand why Ottawa continues to push a new oil pipeline from Alberta, while failing to include BC's softwood lumber industry in its latest round of tariff relief. He says it's unclear to him why Prime Minister Mark Carney said last week that a new pipeline is more likely than not when no private proponent for the project has yet come forward. Eby says BC's real projects in the energy sector deserve at least as much respect as the pipeline being endorsed in Alberta, which he says still remains unrealized in any real way. The federal government separately announced on Monday another $1.5 billion in tariff relief, but without any additional money for softwood lumber. Eby says it's unfair U.S. tariffs are killing BC softwood lumber industry, and it needs as much help as industries closer to Ottawa. Burnaby RCMP are looking for new angles in a crash that happened this Saturday, where 2 children were sent to the hospital. Investigators are asking for dash cam footage from third-party drivers near Hastings Street during the time of the crash. Adam Wang has more.
Officers stated that the footage from the third party is just as important as the footage from the involved. The third-person perspective helped the police to analyze the things that could have caused the incident. Corporal Mike Lange says even ordinary footage that looked like nothing went wrong can change the course of an investigation.
Sometimes we don't have a plate, but we have a description of the vehicle, and someone might have been driving behind them 5 minutes earlier, not knowing that they actually have some evidence that the police could use, whether it be in a collision. Sometimes it's in a shooting. Sometimes it could be a homicide. You don't know what you're capturing before or after a crime happens.
Police wants to see any video captured between 12:30 and 12:45 p.m. on Saturday. The investigation of the car crash remains ongoing. For BCIT News, I'm Adam Wang.
Surrey police are taking the rare step of releasing an image of a foreign national who has been removed from Canada as it investigates extortion violence that had plagued the city. The photo is of 20-year-old Prabjot Singh, who was linked to extortion violence early this year before being arrested and removed by the Canada Border Service Agency after an immigration investigation. Police say that they determined the release of the suspect's photos on a case-by-case basis. They're hoping Singh's photos will prompt more witnesses, victims, and associates to come forward as police investigate the latest spike in extortion violence. The city of Surrey has established a $250,000 reward fund for information that can assist in resolving extortion-related cases. Police say that there have been 91 extortion cases in Surrey this year as of April 27th, with 16 related shootings, 2 arsons, and 49 victims. 27 of those are repeat victims. A new social media trend has come to Vancouver as hundreds of teens are participating in a Scientology raid. Reporter Nevin Yackel has more details on the event and the concerns of the VPD.
On Saturday, nearly 300 teens showed up to what they call a Scientology speedrun, where attendees attempted to raid the Church of Scientology in Vancouver. What started as a small social media trend has now become a dangerous, widespread event. Saturday, people were seen trying to kick down gates around the building and throwing items at police officers. VPD Constable Darren Wong shares a warning to teenagers thinking about participating in these events.
I mean, having a criminal charge slapped on you can have some big ramifications, especially if you're thinking of employment in the future or possibly post-secondary education. So our word of warning for anyone participating in things like this is to consider the consequences of your actions.
One 16-year-old was arrested at the scene, but was later released with no charges. There are rumors of another raid next Saturday, but police urge young adults to think twice about joining. Nevin Yakel, BCIT News.
Scientists are battling a deadly infection that has killed millions of bats in North America. Scientists say the tiny creatures don't care about borders as they float between British Columbia and Washington state, but Trump's funding cuts may be now putting them in serious danger. Increased flooding in Saskatchewan has put more communities under states of emergency, forcing some residents to leave their homes. Tyler Harrison with the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency says 15 communities have issued alerts, up from 3 last week, due to additional flows over the weekend. He says some rural municipalities have required some residents to leave, but he didn't provide details on the number of people or their locations.
I don't have the exact numbers of how many people, but I know with the SPSA, we have not received a request to support anybody at this time. Everybody else is being supported at the local level or by themselves.
A Toronto woman who says she is desperate to die has fled an emergency motion with the Ontario Superior Court of Justice to receive a medical-assisted death for an underlying condition of a mental illness. Claire Elise Brousseau said that her severe bipolar and post-traumatic stress disorders have only worsened over the last 3 decades and that she can no longer endure this unrelentless suffering. In August 2024, Brousseau and the advocacy group Dying with Dignity filed a charter challenge arguing that the MAID's exclusion of Canadians whose sole underlying condition is mental illness is a breach of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. Claire says she is now seeking an exemption that will allow her to receive MAID, which is currently restricted to people who have a serious and incurable medical condition. The federal government has delayed expanding eligibility several times. Ontario is planning to give special constables on some transit systems the power to arrest people using drugs on public transit. Solicitor General Michael Kurtzner says there is no denying the impact illegal drug use has on users, but it is also an issue for people around them.
Far too many Ontarians are encountering individuals whose behavior is affected by these substances in their day-to-day lives, on their way to work, in their communities, and in parks and in public spaces.
This morning, passengers and industry experts continue to react to Spirit Airlines closures over the weekend. The first time in years an American airline has folded. ABC News correspondent Rebecca Jarvis with the latest.
Spirit has faced troubles for some time, but for the thousands of passengers and employees traveling with Spirit Airlines over the weekend, this came as a huge surprise. Many travelers were stranded after Spirit's last flight landed in Dallas. The airline's sudden closure comes amid rising fuel prices and just 9 months after Spirit filed for bankruptcy for the second time.
California's top insurance regulator says the state is seeking millions of dollars in penalties from State Farm after an investigation found that the insurance company violated state law while handling claims from the 2025 Los Angeles area wildfires. The state's insurance commissioner says Monday the State Farm violated the law hundreds of times. The investigation launched last June and found that the state's largest home insurer was delaying and mishandling claims regarding damage to survivors' homes and possible contamination from smoke and the Palisades and Eaton fires. The department looked at 220 random claims filed to State Farm and found nearly 400 violations. State Farm did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Now in weather, it is expected to be sunny throughout the day with a high of 22 degrees. The UV is 7. That is all your news and weather at 3. I'm Mark Zhuang, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Hello, I'm Robbie Parker, and this is your sports headlines at 3:15. In hockey, 2 games are on the mound tonight for the NHL playoffs. The red-hot Carolina Hurricanes host the Philadelphia Flyers for Game 2 at 4 o'clock. Flyers forward Owen Tippett is questionable to play with a concussion. Game 2 tonight is the series opener, where the Vegas Golden Knights are hosting the Anaheim Ducks. Puck drop will be at 6:30. The Ducks are coming off a series win against the Oilers, where Vegas just defeated the Utah Mammoth in 6 games last Friday. Both teams have stayed generally healthy coming into tonight's game. Tomorrow has just 1 game on the schedule as the Colorado Avalanche take on the Minnesota Wild in Denver for Game 2. In front office news, new Maple Leafs management team John Chayka and Matt Sundin had their introductory press conference today. Keith Pelly, president of Maple Leaf Sports and Education, took most of the criticism, but reiterated that his team did the due diligence to make the correct hire.
When we identified an opportunity to go in a different direction and bring 2 stellar complementary hockey minds together in John and Matt's, we jumped on it.
The Canucks' future will be decided tomorrow as the NHL's draft lottery takes place at 4 p.m. Vancouver holds the best odds at 18.5% to get the first overall pick, as they finished last place in the league. The lowest they can fall is to 3rd overall in the draft. If they were to get the first overall pick, it would be the first time in franchise history, and give them the opportunity to draft Penn State superstar Gavin McKenna. Number 2 wouldn't be a bad consolation prize, though, as expected pick Ivar Stenberg had 5 points for the Swedish national team, where he played alongside Canucks Linus Karlsson, Niels Hoglander, and Liam Ogren. Canucks prospect Braden Coots and the Prince Albert Raiders are facing off against the Everett Silvertips in the WHL Finals, after a 7-6 win last night, knocking off the Medicine Hat Tigers in 6 games. Coots notched a goal and 2 assists last night, adding to his 18-point total in the playoffs, which is 3rd in the league. You can watch the future Canuck with Game 1 starting on Friday with the time to be announced. A name to also look out for on Everett is defenseman Landon DuPont. He is the top prospect in the 2027 NHL draft and grew up a Canucks fan, whose current favorite player is on the Canucks.
Now, as I've watched him more, and my favorite player, Zeev Boyum, got traded there this year, so me and my brother are pretty pumped about that.
Going on in basketball, the second round of the NBA playoffs begin tonight. The New York Knicks are host to the Philadelphia 76ers, with tip-off taking place at 5 o'clock. The Canucks hope to manage the Sixers after Philly upset the Boston Celtics from being down 3-1 in the first round. The final game of the night has the San Antonio Spurs hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves, with the game starting at 6:30. Earlier today, it was announced Minnesota superstar guard Anthony Edwards will indeed play. He's been dealing with a knee injury for the past 9 days and has gone through multiple treatments to be ready to go for tonight. Here is ESPN insider Shams Charania with more.
He pushed and really wanted to go tonight. I'm told he did multiple different treatment options, including the hyperbaric chamber over the last several days to try to see if he can get back. So Anthony Edwards will go through his pregame warm-up tonight with the intention of playing as this season tips off.
Tomorrow's games will have the Detroit Pistons playing host to the Cleveland Cavaliers and Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Thunder hosting LeBron James and the Lakers. In baseball, the Toronto Blue Jays are in Tampa Bay facing off against the Rays for the first of 3 games. First pitch will be at 3:40. Lefty Eric Lauer is on the mound today for Toronto, where righty Nick Martinez is pitching for Tampa Bay. And coming out of Detroit earlier today, 2-time defending Cy Young winner Tarek Skubal of the Detroit Tigers will undergo surgery on his left elbow. In other sports, Montreal is hoping to even the series against Minnesota in the PWHL playoffs, and Canadian swimmer Summer McIntosh defeats Katie Ledecky in 400-meter freestyle at a Florida meet, while also winning in the 200-meter. I am Robbie Parker. Thank you for listening to Sports Headlines at 3:15.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane.